Good afternoon. The prosecutor will update everyone on the additional charges that have been filed in this case. First, I want to remind everyone that criminal charges are merely accusations and the defendants are presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty. Her remarks today are based on the information placed on the record during the swear-to and arraignment before the court earlier this morning. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald.
Good afternoon. I would like to introduce members of my staff. To my left is Sarah Green. She's the chief of the Special Victims Unit. Assistant Prosecutor Lauren Benninger. She is also in the Special Victims Unit. Kelly Collins is our chief of juvenile. Betsy Haig is our chief of administration and oversees the juvenile division. Mark Keese is our chief of circuit. And this is, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Chief Brent Lemarice, Madison Heights Police Department. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The victim in this case is Giovanni Jennings, known by his family as Chulo. Chulo was 6 years old, and he died from blunt force trauma to his abdomen and a perforated bowel after a lengthy period of confinement and abuse. The Wayne County Medical Examiner determined that the manner of death was homicide. Last week, my office filed charges against his mother, Elaina Jennings, and her boyfriend, Daniel Giacchina, for lying to the police, and additional charges against defendant Giacchina for improperly possessing weapons and ammunition because he was already a convicted felon. But it was clear from the evidence that we saw that there was a pattern of abuse that led to Chulo's death. My office, in conjunction with the Madison Heights Police Department, has spent the last week performing an intensive review of every piece of available evidence, including cell phone evidence, photos, and evidence that was seized in search warrants. Combined, we have spent over 100 hours reviewing extremely disturbing videos and photos, as well as text messages and Facebook chats describing the horrific things that happened to this 6-year-old boy. Everyone standing up here, including myself, were a part of those 100 hours of review. His siblings were present for and witnessed much of that abuse, and a complete review of the digital evidence continues. Chulo's 4-year-old brother was interviewed at Care House. For those of you who don't know, Care House is a child advocacy center in Oakland County. My office has an experienced prosecutor dedicated to Care House and who attends forensic interviews there, and that's Lauren Benninger. I cannot express the importance of Care House and how fortunate we are in this county to have this highly qualified professional organization who interview and provide therapy for child victims. I also want to thank the Oakland County Sheriff's Department who assisted in this investigation. As we carefully sifted through the evidence, what we found can only be described as horrific. The allegations are that Chulo was confined to a pen in the defendant's bedroom. He was beaten, he was bound to the wall by using a staple gun to his close to the wall, which forced his face into a corner. He was badly injured, but he was not taken for medical treatment because his mother knew that a medical examination would reveal the abuse. And that information is all an allegation that was already in the public forum on the record in the swear-to. Based on that additional evidence, today, my office amended the charges against the defendants to include murder and child abuse in the first degree. On July 30th, 2024, at 2:34 p.m., Elaina Jennings called 911 to her home and indicated that her 6-year-old son was passed out and unconscious. Chulo was rushed by ambulance to Ascension Macomb Oakland Hospital, transferred to the Detroit Medical Center, and ultimately succumbed to his injuries around midnight on July 31st. The allegations are that Jennings falsely told police that she left Chulo with his biological father when she went to work that morning, and that Chulo was uninjured prior to being with his father. Police located and arrested Chulo's father, and based on information provided by his father, subsequent investigation quickly revealed that the child's father was not anywhere near Chulo's location that day, and that defendant Jennings had provided false information to police. Based on the investigation to date, there is no evidence that Chulo's father took part in these crimes. Elaina Jennings, along with Chulo and her 2 other minor children, were living at the home along with Jennings' boyfriend, defendant Daniel Giacchina, and Giacchina's grandmother. Further investigation revealed that Giacchina and Jennings conspired to falsely tell police that it was Chulo's biological father who was last with Chulo. In fact, when Jennings left the home on the morning of July 30th, Chulo was left in the care of Giacchina. Giacchina typically watched Chulo when Jennings was at work, along with Chulo's 2 younger siblings and another unrelated 5-year-old. Photos taken during an autopsy in Wayne County revealed that Chulo had bruising and laceration on his entire body, including to his scalp, temples, lips, inner mouth, cheeks, forehead, chin, shoulder, forearms, fingers, thumbs, back, buttocks, inner thighs, knees, and shins. Notably, Chulo had pervasive bruising to his abdomen, which was also bloated and distended. He had an apparent BB wound to his shin. First responders and emergency room personnel noted extensive external injuries as well. Cell phone evidence has revealed that Chulo Jennings was being severely abused by the defendants. Chulo was beaten by Giacchina on multiple occasions. While that abuse sometimes happened while Jennings was at work, Jennings was aware of it and approved of the physical assaults and at times even encouraged Giacchina to abuse Chulo. The abuse involved physical violence and assault, including shooting at Chulo with a BB gun. For punishment, Chulo was confined to a pen in a corner of Giacchina's and Jennings' bedroom, where he was left to try and sleep on a wooden slat measuring 11 inches by 36 inches. A black curtain was put in place so Chulo couldn't see out, and barricades were used to keep him in place. Giacchina purchased a home security system and mounted a camera on the wall to monitor what he and Jennings called, quote, the corner, the pen in the bedroom cordoned by the black curtain where they kept Chulo. Both Giacchina and Jennings would watch video clips of Chulo, quote, misbehaving, which would include Chulo trying to urinate, drink, or leave the corner. On one instance, on July 26, Giacchina bound Chulo to the wall to keep Chulo confined in the corner and to position his head to face the wall. He did so by stapling the clothing Chulo was wearing to the wall with a staple gun. He texted Jennings that he had solved the problem of keeping Chulo's face toward the wall, sending her a photo of Chulo stapled into the corner of the pen. That photo shows the shoulders of Chulo's shirt stapled to the edges of the corner in such a manner that Chulo's body, along with his head and face, were wedged into the corner of the wall. Both Jennings and Giacchina laughed about the photo and Giacchina's use of the staple gun to solve, quote, the problem. According to the text, Chulo was being punished in this manner for looking out the window in the pen area. A search conducted in the home in the pen area where Chulo was kept revealed marks in the walls consistent with a staple gun and holes in the wall with BBs still in them. During the search, police seized both a staple gun, a BB gun, and CO2 cartridges before the BB gun. They also seized a 9mm semi-automatic ghost gun and over 100 rounds of live 9mm ammunition. A photograph recovered from the cell phone analysis depicts Giacchina in the middle of 2 young children who are handling the ghost gun and the BB gun. On July 26, a photo from Jennings' phone depicts 2 children who are each pointing a gun at a third child. The third child has his hand up, and the laser from the ghost gun is illuminating his hand. Elaina Jennings' 4-year-old son was forensically interviewed at Care House. He told the forensic interviewer that, quote, Danny, Giacchina, shot him in the leg with a BB gun and showed his wound to the forensic interviewer. He also disclosed that Danny shot Chulo in the buttocks with a BB gun. The 4-year-old explained that on the day of Chulo's death, quote, Chulo died all day, and Danny was there. Defendant Elaina Jennings was interviewed by police, and she stated that Giacchina punched Chulo in the abdomen several times, approximately 3 days prior to his death. She told police that as a result of those punches, Chulo began vomiting. His condition began to worsen until July 30th, when she found him unresponsive in the company of Giacchina. Jennings admitted that she knew Chulo desperately needed medical attention, but she did not take him to the hospital because she knew that a medical examination would reveal the abuse he was suffering. The investigation also revealed that Jennings and Giacchina were present and living in the family home the entire time that the known abuse was sustained by Chulo. After the autopsy, the Wayne County Medical Examiner issued a supplemental report indicating that Chulo Jennings died by homicide as a result of a bowel perforation with complications after blunt force trauma to his abdomen. All children have a right to grow up in a home free of fear. This child and his siblings suffered unimaginable abuse and lived in fear every day. My office and the Madison Heights Police Department are committed to using every resource available to us to get justice for Chulo and hold the people responsible for his death accountable, and to seek punishment that reflects the horror of his death. And I want to thank the Madison Heights Police Department for their commitment and conviction in carrying out a very complicated investigation. And I'd like to turn it over to the chief now.
Thank you, Karen. So, good afternoon, members of the press. For those who don't know me, my name is Brent Lemerise, and again, I'm the police chief for the city of Madison Heights. I'm not to be too redundant, but I'm going to speak a little bit on some of the things that Karen already said, but I'm going to be very short. So as you know, the Madison Heights Police Department and the Madison Heights Fire Department responded to the residence of the 6-year-old victim, Chulo Giovanni Jennings, on July 30th, 2024. This was the first time we encountered Giovanni and learned about his failing condition. The first responders took life-saving measures, but unfortunately Giovanni eventually succumbed to his injuries. Officers moved quickly to obtain probable cause, and they made 3 arrests on the date of the incident. One individual, as Karen had stated previously, was released when it was determined he had an alibi, and he was turned over to another agency on separate violations. The other 2 individuals, as you now know, are Elaina Jennings and Daniel Giacchina, and they were charged with lying to the police. And Daniel Giacchina had a pre-existing warrant for weapons-related offenses out of Madison Heights. Since their arraignment on those charges, the Madison Heights investigative team, in coordination with the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office and their investigators, have been working around the clock to uncover fresh evidence that has led to new charges introduced today by Karen McDonald. I would like to give a special thank you to all of them for their hard work. With that said, I want to remain focused on Giovanni and the tragic situation he had to endure. We will continue to work with the prosecutor's office to build this case and provide that justice for Giovanni. Thank you.
We can take a few questions, but with the understanding that we're very limited in what we can say.
Prosecutor, had anyone reported any of this abuse to CPS, and can you, as a parent, speak to the extreme nature of this abuse and how horrifying it is?
I can't comment on whether it was reported to CPS. I know that we are all mandated reporters and immediately contacted CPS because that's our job. You know, I'm a former family court judge and presiding over an abuse and neglect docket. I've been a prosecutor for years and the elected prosecutor for 4. And I think everyone standing up here has decades and decades of experience in prosecuting, particularly in the Special Victims Unit. But this was one of the worst cases we've seen.
Will Jones, Level 4, how do you prevent something like this from happening? Is there anything that can be done?
There's a lot that can be done. And without going into the circumstances of this case, we need to know and keep track of our children. We need to know and keep track of our children who are enrolled in public schools, and when they are taken out, inquire about what happened to them. And then the people around kids, whether you're a neighbor, a teacher, a coach, just somebody in the grocery store line, if you see something that concerns you, you should absolutely report it to the Child Protective Services or the police. And in terms of the weapons offenses, your guns should be secured, stored, and locked, and not available or children have access to them at all.
It's hard for a lot of people to imagine abuse on this scale. Can you talk about your reaction as a parent when you first looked at this case? You
know, we have so many tools available to us now. in the digital forensic analysis, particularly with cell phones. And so, unfortunately or fortunately, crimes like these oftentimes are depicted, photographed, spoken about in a way that is horrifying. So I think it doesn't matter how long you do this job. I don't think any of us ever stop being extremely moved and horrified at what we see. But it also, I know I can speak for the people on my team, makes us more passionate and work harder to protect vulnerable people. Anything else?
Just indicate that both defendants were arraigned this morning in front of Magistrate Michael Mitchell. Bond was denied, and they're both at the Oakland County Jail. Thank you.
Thank you.